My family disowned me for refusing to let my unemployed brother live in my house rent-free. Update. He committed fraud in my name. Hi everyone. Today's story will blow your mind, but really quick, if you enjoy this content, hit that subscribe button. Channel's been a bit quiet lately, and your support keeps it all going. Let's jump in. Original post. I, 31M, need advice about my family pressuring me to let my younger brother move in rent-free because family helps family. I've been wrestling with this situation for several weeks now, and I desperately need some outside perspective because I'm starting to question my own sanity and whether I'm being the unreasonable one here. Let me provide some context about my journey to where I am today. I'm a software engineer who genuinely worked myself to the bone to achieve my current stability. Nothing was handed to me on a silver platter. I put myself through college with a combination of student loans that I'm still paying off and multiple part-time jobs that left me exhausted but determined. During those years, I lived in absolutely terrible apartments with multiple roommates who ranged from inconsiderate to downright unbearable. I survived on ramen noodles, peanut butter sandwiches, and whatever free food I could find at campus events. Every dollar was carefully budgeted, every expense scrutinized. 5 years ago, after years of aggressive saving and sacrifice, I finally had enough for a down payment on a modest 3-bedroom house in the suburbs. It's nothing fancy or impressive, just a simple 1,400 square foot home built in the 1980s that needed some work. But it's mine. I've spent these 5 years slowly fixing it up, learning home repair from YouTube videos, and making it into a comfortable space that I'm proud of. Every improvement, from the refurbished hardwood floors to the updated kitchen backsplash, represents hours of my own labor and careful financial planning. My younger brother Tyler, 24M, has taken a completely different approach to life. He enrolled in college straight out of high school with our parents paying his tuition, but dropped out after 2 years because traditional education wasn't for him, and college is just a scam to create corporate drones. Since then, he's bounced between retail jobs, restaurant work, and brief stints at various warehouses, never lasting more than a few months anywhere. His reasons for leaving are always the same variations. Management was toxic, the work was beneath him, or the company didn't appreciate his potential. He's currently unemployed and has been for 3 months, living comfortably with our parents in their 4-bedroom house while he figures out his passion and explores his options. From what I can see, this exploration mainly consists of playing video games until 4 a.m., sleeping until 2 p.m., and making TikTok videos about rejecting the corporate slave mentality. Last month, my parents called a formal family meeting. They sat me down in their living room, the same room where they'd once lectured me about the importance of hard work and self-reliance, and explained that Tyler needs to move out of their house. They're planning to downsize for retirement, wanting to sell their current home and move to a smaller condo near the beach. This part made perfect sense to me, and I was actually happy they were finally thinking about their own future. But then came the kicker that left me speechless. They want Tyler to move in with me. Not just temporarily, not with any conditions or expectations. Just move in. Rent-free. For an indefinite period. Their exact words were, "James, you're successful now. You have a good job. You own a house with extra bedrooms just sitting empty. Tyler is still finding himself, still discovering his path in life. As his older brother, you should support him during this transitional period. That's what family does for each other." When I expressed hesitation, not even outright refusal, just hesitation, my mother's face transformed into a mask of disappointment. She actually said, "We supported you when you were struggling in college. We never turned our backs on you." Which is technically true. They let me stay home during summer breaks. But what she conveniently forgot to mention was that I was working 40-hour weeks at a warehouse during those summers, plus weekend shifts at a grocery store, saving every single penny for the next semester's expenses. Tyler, during his summer breaks, went to music festivals and took a gap month to find himself in Costa Rica. The pressure since that meeting has been absolutely relentless. My father sends me daily articles about successful people who credit their achievements to family support, with highlighted passages about lifting others up as you climb. My mother texts me every morning with variations of, "I can't believe you'd turn your back on your brother," and "What happened to the caring boy I raised?" Even my sister Jennifer, 28F, who lives 3 states away and hasn't visited home in 2 years, has joined the campaign, calling me selfish and accusing me of forgetting my roots because Tyler just needs time to find his path, and you have the means to help him. Here's what really frustrates me. I haven't even said no. I've offered what I consider very reasonable compromises. I told him Tyler could stay for 3 months if he paid a token rent of $300 per month, which includes all utilities. That's basically nothing in our area where studio apartments start at $1,200. I also asked that he help with basic household chores and actively search for employment. I even offered to help him with his resume and connect him with recruiters I know. The response to my compromise was swift and harsh. My parents said I was putting a price on family love and creating barriers to helping my own brother. Tyler himself posted on Facebook about how some people forget where they came from once they get a little money, and blood should mean more than dollar signs. The post got dozens of sympathetic comments from extended family members who don't know the full story. I want to be clear, I'm not wealthy. My salary is decent but not extraordinary. I have a mortgage that takes up 30% of my monthly income, student loans that claim another 15%, and I'm trying to save for retirement because I know Social Security won't be enough. I also have an emergency fund that I've built up slowly, remembering too well the times when a car repair or medical bill would have financially destroyed me. The idea of jeopardizing my hard-won stability fills me with anxiety. More importantly, I've seen this pattern with Tyler before. 2 years ago, he lived with our cousin Brian for 6 months after convincing him it would be just for a few weeks while he got established in a new city. Brian's house became party central, with Tyler hosting gatherings almost every night. Tyler contributed nothing to rent or utilities, ate Brian's food, and used his things without asking. When Brian finally had enough and asked him to leave, he discovered Tyler had caused significant damage to the property: holes in walls, stained carpets, and a bathroom that looked like it hadn't been cleaned once during his stay. Brian ended up losing his security deposit and getting an eviction notice from his landlord. My parents argue that Tyler has matured since then, but I see zero evidence of this supposed growth. Just last week, he posted Instagram stories from a weekday afternoon party, drinking expensive craft beer and playing beer pong, with the caption, "Living my best life while corporate slaves waste away in cubicles." When I asked him about it, he said he was networking and building connections for future opportunities. The guilt is eating me alive because I do technically have the space. I have 2 empty bedrooms that I use as a home office and a guest room for when friends visit. I know the housing market is brutal right now, and finding affordable places is genuinely difficult. But I also worked incredibly hard for my stability, sacrificing years of my youth to achieve it. The thought of potentially losing my peaceful home environment, my sanctuary after stressful work days, fills me with dread. My parents have now escalated their emotional manipulation to new levels. They've said they're disappointed in the man I've become, and that success means nothing without family values. They've even hinted that this might affect my inclusion in their will, though honestly, I never expected much from that anyway, given that they've always favored Tyler. My mother told me that my grandparents would be spinning in their graves if they knew I was being so selfish with family. The extended family has joined the pile-on. I'm getting messages from aunts, uncles, and cousins I haven't spoken to in years, all expressing their disappointment in my selfishness and reminding me about various family events where relatives helped each other. What they don't mention is that those situations usually involved temporary help during genuine emergencies, not indefinite support for someone who refuses to take responsibility for their own life. I'm genuinely questioning myself at this point. Am I being too harsh? Should I just let him move in to keep the peace? Part of me wonders if I'm letting my resentment over how differently we were treated growing up cloud my judgment. But another part of me, the part that remembers eating sleep for dinner some nights to save money, the part that worked doubles on holidays while my friends celebrated, the part that still has nightmares about checking my bank balance, is screaming that this will end in disaster. What would you do in my situation? Am I the asshole for not wanting to support my brother indefinitely? Or am I justified in protecting what I've worked so hard to build? Update 1, posted 3 weeks later. I let my brother move in and it's already a complete disaster. Well, against my better judgment and the unanimous advice from my original post, I caved to the family pressure. After that post, things escalated to a level I couldn't have imagined. My mother started crying during every phone call, sobbing about how she had failed as a parent if her children couldn't support each other. My father said I was breaking my mother's heart and that he had never been more disappointed in me. Extended family members I hadn't heard from in years started reaching out to tell me how shocked they were by my selfishness. The final straw was when my grandmother, 87F, called me. This is a woman who never asks for anything, who has always been the rock of our family. Hearing her voice shake as she said she was worried about Tyler being homeless, that she couldn't sleep thinking about him on the streets, made me feel like the worst person alive. She reminded me of how family had taken her in during the Depression, how that kindness had saved her life. How could I argue with that? So I agreed to let Tyler move in, but with clear conditions that I typed up and had him sign. 1. 3-month trial period. 2. $300 monthly rent due on the 1st. 3. Keep common areas clean. 4. No parties without my explicit permission. 5. Actively job search with proof of applications. 6. No overnight guests more than twice a week. My family was thrilled. My mother actually said, I knew you'd come to your senses. This is what your grandparents would have wanted. Family takes care of family. Tyler seemed grateful at first, promising this was exactly the fresh start he needed to get his life together. He even hugged me and said he wouldn't let me down. He moved in 2 weeks ago. Want to guess how many of those conditions he's followed? Exactly 0. First, the rent situation. When I reminded him on the 1st that rent was due, he actually laughed. Not a nervous laugh, but a genuine, amused laugh. Bro, you know I'm between jobs. I'll get you when I get back on my feet. You're not seriously going to nickel and dime your own brother, are you? When I insisted it was part of our agreement, he immediately called our parents. Within an hour, I was getting calls from both of them saying I was being petty about money when I make 6 figures. I make $75,000, but they seem to think all tech workers are millionaires. The job search is completely non-existent. I came home early from work one day with a migraine to find him in his underwear on my couch, playing video games at 2 p.m., surrounded by empty energy drink cans and chip bags. His explanation when I asked about job hunting, "I'm not just looking for any job, James. I'm looking for the right opportunity. You wouldn't understand since you settled for the first corporate gig that came along. Some of us have bigger dreams than being keyboard monkeys." But the parties, this is where it gets really bad. Last Friday, I explicitly told Tyler I would be working late on a critical project. My team was doing a production deployment, and I needed to be available until everything was stable. I came home at 11 p.m., exhausted and ready to collapse, only to find about 20 people in my house. Music was blasting so loud I could hear it from the street. People were smoking on my deck. I don't smoke and explicitly said no smoking. Someone had spilled red wine on my light gray couch, a couch I had saved for 6 months to buy. When I confronted Tyler, he rolled his eyes and said, "Relax, man. It's just a few friends. You're acting like Dad." His friends were openly dismissive when I asked them to leave. One guy, who looked to be in his 30s, actually said, "Chill out, corporate drone." Tyler said you'd be cool. Stop being such a buzzkill. It took me threatening to call the police to get them out, and even then, they left slowly, making snide comments about Tyler's uptight brother and some people forgetting how to have fun. Tyler himself was the last to come inside, and he had the audacity to be angry with me for embarrassing him in front of his friends. The next morning, in the harsh light of day, I catalogued the damage. A multiple cigarette burns on my deck railing that I had just refinished last summer. A broken picture frame containing a photo of my late dog Max, the last photo I had of him. A mystery stains on my carpet that looks suspiciously like vomit. An empty bottle of Japanese whiskey I'd been saving for 5 years for a special occasion. And my Netflix logged into on 3 different devices I don't recognize. A food missing from my pantry, including specialty items I buy for meal prep. And my garage door left wide open all night. A neighbor's complaining about noise and cars blocking their driveways. When I confronted Tyler about the damage, he shrugged and said, "Shit happens at parties, bro. I'll clean it up later." He hasn't touched any of it. The wine stain has now set into my couch fabric, and the professional cleaning estimate is $300, exactly 1 month of his rent that he hasn't paid. I called my parents to explain the situation, hoping they'd talk some sense into him or at least understand my position. Their response? My mother said, "He's young, James. You used to have parties too." I didn't. I was working 2 jobs in college and studying every free moment. My father added, "This is why he needs your guidance. Be a role model instead of a landlord. Show him how to be responsible instead of just demanding it." The guidance comment really stung because I've genuinely tried to help. I've offered to review and revamp his resume, connect him with recruiters I know, get him an interview at my company for an entry-level position, teach him basic coding skills, pay for online certifications that could help him get a better job. His response to every offer? "I'm not looking to be another cog in the machine, James. I have bigger plans than sitting in a cubicle pretending to care about some company's bottom line." What are these bigger plans? He's deliberately vague, but from what I can piece together, it involves becoming an influencer or starting a podcast about authentic living and rejecting societal expectations. He has 312 Instagram followers, most of whom seem to be bots or spam accounts. His podcast equipment. He expects me to buy it for him as an investment in his future. Yesterday was the absolute last straw. I came home to find he'd completely taken over my home office. My carefully organized workspace, with my dual monitors, ergonomic setup, and important documents, had been shoved into the corner. He'd set up ring lights, a green screen, and a backdrop for his content creation studio. My work laptop was precariously balanced on a stack of books. When I lost it, and I mean really lost it, yelling for the first time in years, he had the nerve to say I was stifling his creativity and this is why he can't thrive. He actually said, "You have your whole house, and you're freaking out about one room?" This is exactly the kind of scarcity mindset that keeps people poor. I gave him an ultimatum: follow the original agreement or move out by the end of the month. He immediately called our parents, and within minutes, my phone was blowing up again. The newest guilt trip came in the form of a text from my mother: "Your grandfather built this family on love and support, not contracts and conditions. He would be ashamed of what you've become." I'm at my absolute wit's end. I can't live like this. The stress is affecting my work, my sleep, my health. I'm actually considering selling my house just to have an excuse to make him leave, even though that would mean giving up everything I've worked for. The thought of starting over, finding a new place, moving everything, makes me want to cry from exhaustion. For those who warned me this would happen in my original post, you were 100% right. I just wish I'd listened to my gut and stood firm against the emotional manipulation. Update 2, posted 5 weeks after the first update. Final update: I kicked my brother out and my family has completely disowned me. I want to start by thanking everyone who commented on my previous updates. Your support and validation kept me sane through what became an absolute nightmare that tested every boundary I had. After my last post, things escalated to a level I never thought possible. Tyler must have sensed I was serious about the eviction because he switched tactics entirely. Instead of being dismissive and entitled, he became manipulative and calculating. He'd leave printouts of apartment listings he couldn't afford on the kitchen counter, sighing dramatically whenever I walked by. He started posting constantly on social media about toxic family members who value money over blood, and learning who really cares about you when you're down. Each post was carefully crafted to make me look like a heartless monster. He even staged scenes for my benefit. I'd come home to find him crying on the phone about his situation, only for the tears to miraculously dry up the moment he thought I wasn't watching. He'd have loud conversations within earshot about how he was trying so hard, but his brother won't give him a chance. The breaking point came 3 weeks ago, in a scenario so absurd I still can't believe it happened. I woke up at 3 a.m. to voices in my living room. Not quiet conversation, but a full-blown screaming match. Tyler had invited his ex-girlfriend Michelle over, and they were having an explosive argument. Apparently, she'd discovered he was telling people they were still together and had been using my address for some kind of scheme. When I stumbled out to confront them, Michelle turned on me with fury I didn't expect. "You're enabling him by letting him live here rent-free. He's been telling everyone you're bankrolling his lifestyle because you believe in his potential. Is that true?" That's when the full picture started emerging. Tyler had been telling people I was supporting him as an investment in his future success. Claiming we were business partners in his non-existent podcast venture. Using my address to establish residency for various applications. Presenting himself as an entrepreneur with a silent investor, me. Actually taking photos in my house to make it look like it was his on dating apps. The next morning, I discovered why Michelle was really there and why she was so angry. Tyler had used my address to apply for multiple credit cards, listing his income as $75,000 from content creation and investments. The bills were starting to arrive, thousands of dollars in debt he'd racked up in just a few weeks. When I confronted him with a stack of bills, his response was casual: "I was going to pay them once my monetization kicks in. Stop being so paranoid. This is how entrepreneurs operate. You spend money to make money." That was it. No more chances, no more patience, no more understanding. I told him he had 72 hours to leave. Not 30 days like a formal eviction. 72 hours, or I would call the police and report the fraud. The family explosion was immediate and intense. My mother called sobbing hysterically, saying I was throwing my baby brother onto the streets like garbage. She actually used the phrase, baby brother, for a 24-year-old man. My father said I was choosing money over family, and that he had never raised me to be this cold. He told me I was no longer the son he knew. Jennifer accused me of being jealous of Tyler's free spirit, and said my corporate job had killed my soul. She sent me a long email about how I had become everything wrong with society: materialistic, selfish, and incapable of unconditional love. The email was CC'd to our entire extended family. But here's where it gets interesting. My cousin Brian, who'd previously hosted Tyler and been burned, finally spoke up in our family group chat. He revealed details he'd kept quiet for 2 years. Tyler had caused over $3,000 in damages to his rental property. Stolen electronics and sold them to pawn shops. I used Brian's address for payday loans that went into collections. I had packages delivered that Brian suspects were purchased with stolen credit cards. I left Brian to deal with angry creditors for months after he left. Brian had kept quiet because he didn't want to cause family drama, and because our parents had convinced him that speaking up would hurt Tyler's chances at starting fresh. You'd think this revelation would open my family's eyes. Instead, my parents' response was that Brian should have been more understanding and that both of us were ganging up on Tyler when he needs support the most. They actually suggested that Brian's negative energy was part of why Tyler had struggled there. Tyler didn't leave after 72 hours. Instead, my parents showed up at my door with him, staging what they called an intervention. They sat in my living room, in my house that I pay for, and told me I was sick with greed and needed to remember my values. My mother actually said, "We gave you life, James. The least you can do is help your brother. We're not asking you to die for him, just share what you have." My father piled on, "When you were born, we promised to raise you with values. Where are those values now? What happened to the little boy who shared his Halloween candy with his brother?" I finally snapped. I told them about every sacrifice I'd made, every double shift I'd worked, every meal I'd skipped to save money. I reminded them about at the Christmas I worked 16-hour shifts while Tyler got a new gaming system. At the summer I slept in my car between jobs to save rent money while Tyler went to Europe. At the times I ate rice and beans for weeks while Tyler ate out daily on their dime. How they'd given Tyler money for college that he'd spent on a car he crashed within months. How I took out loans I'm still paying while Tyler got a free ride he squandered. I asked them where my support was when I was struggling. Where were they when I was working myself sick to pay for textbooks? Where was this family helps family mentality when I needed it? My father's response chilled me to my core. "You didn't need our help. You were always the strong one. Tyler needs us more." That's what parents do. They help the child who needs it most. I realized then that this would never end. In their eyes, I would always be the responsible one who didn't need help, and Tyler would always be the baby who did. They'd enable him forever and expect me to do the same. I told them all to leave and that Tyler had 1 hour to pack his belongings before I called the police. I meant it, and they knew it. The aftermath was swift and brutal. Tyler finally left, but not before. Keying my car from hood to trunk, repair estimate, $2,000. Posting my address on Craigslist with ads for free electronics and come and get it sales. Telling our extended family I'd physically threatened him with violence, completely false. Attempting to file a tenant's rights claim, which failed because he'd never paid rent, had no lease, and couldn't prove residency beyond the fraudulent credit applications. Spreading rumors that I had anger issues and was unstable. Creating a GoFundMe claiming I had made him homeless after promising to support him. My parents have officially disowned me. They sent a formal email, yes, an actual formal email with a subject line notice of familial termination, stating that until I apologize to Tyler and make amends by supporting him as a true brother should, I'm no longer welcome in their home or at family gatherings. They've removed me from their will and made sure to tell me about it. They've also informed me that I'm no longer invited to any holiday celebrations, birthday parties, or family events. The email included gems like, "We are disappointed in the man you've become. Money has corrupted your values. We will pray for your soul to rediscover compassion. Tyler may not be perfect, but at least he has a heart." Jennifer blocked me on all social media after posting a long rant about how money corrupts even the best people and how she's mourning the loss of the brother she once knew. The post got hundreds of likes and comments from people who don't know the full story, all agreeing that I'm heartless. Extended family is split. Some support me quietly but won't speak up publicly because they don't want to face the same treatment. Others think I'm heartless and have told me so in no uncertain terms. I've been called selfish, cold, materialistic, and everything wrong with capitalism by relatives who've never worked a day in their lives. The plot twist. Tyler moved back in with our parents, and within a week, my mother was texting mutual friends about how stressed she is and how Tyler needs to grow up. She's complaining about the same behaviors I dealt with, the late-night gaming, the refusal to help around the house, the constant parties. But she still blames me for abandoning him and forcing him back into their home. Here's the thing that surprises me most. I'm actually okay. The first week was hard. I questioned everything, wondered if I was really the monster they painted me as. I'd wake up at night replaying conversations, wondering if I could have handled things differently. Then one evening, I came home to my quiet, clean house. I sat on my couch, wine stain now professionally cleaned with my own money, and realized something profound. For the first time in months, I felt peace. Complete, absolute peace. No anxiety about what disaster I'd find when I got home. No strangers in my space. No manipulation or guilt trips. No one using my things or disrespecting my home. Just quiet. I've started therapy to process the family trauma and understand why I was so susceptible to their manipulation. My therapist helped me understand that I'd been conditioned from birth to be the responsible one, while Tyler was enabled to be the baby who needs help. It's a dynamic that would never change as long as I participated in it. She also helped me see that my family's love was always conditional, based on what I could provide, not who I am. Some positive updates since the drama. I changed all my locks and installed a comprehensive security system. I put fraud alerts on all my credit reports and disputed Tyler's applications. I joined a support group for people dealing with toxic family dynamics. I started setting boundaries in all my relationships. And actually sleeping well for the first time in years. I rekindled friendships I'd neglected due to family drama. I got a promotion at work now that I can focus without constant crisis. Last week, Brian reached out. He's dealing with similar pressure to help Tyler again since I'm out of the picture. Our parents are telling him it's his turn to step up. We've started having weekly dinners, bonding over our shared experiences and supporting each other in maintaining boundaries. He told me something that really resonated. They don't want Tyler to succeed. They want to keep him dependent so they always have someone to take care of. And they want us to enable it so they don't have to feel guilty about creating this monster. I know some people will think I should have tried harder, been more patient, or found another solution. But I've realized that you can't help someone who doesn't want help. You'll just drown trying to save them. Tyler doesn't want to change because he's never had to. There have always been people ready to catch him when he falls, so he's never learned to walk on his own. My door isn't closed forever. If Tyler genuinely gets his life together, gets a job, maintains it, takes responsibility for his actions, and wants a real relationship based on mutual respect, I'll be here. But I won't sacrifice my well-being for someone who sees me as nothing more than a resource to exploit. To anyone dealing with similar family dynamics, you're not obligated to set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. It's okay to choose your own peace and stability. It doesn't make you selfish or cold. It makes you healthy. The people who truly love you will respect your boundaries, not constantly try to break them. Thanks for following this journey. I'm going to focus on building relationships with people who respect boundaries and appreciate support without exploiting it. I'm also planning to volunteer with organizations that help young adults who genuinely want to improve their lives but lack resources. People who would appreciate the kind of help Tyler threw away. Life's too short to spend it enabling someone else's refusal to grow up. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is say no and let them face the consequences of their choices. Even if it costs you your family, your peace of mind is worth it. Edit. Since several people asked, yes, I kept all documentation of Tyler's fraud attempts and property damage. While I'm not pursuing legal action now, trying to minimize drama and just move forward, I have everything filed away with photos, credit reports, and written statements in case he escalates. My lawyer friend says I have a solid case if needed. Also, to those suggesting I could have done more, I offered legitimate help numerous times. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to enable destructive behavior.